This video is a response to a YouTube video titled Devil's Apple by YouTube user Sin Jones. Now before I begin my critique of this video, I must give credit where credit is due. It is a good video and it is worth viewing. Despite our differences as well as our arguments and debate, Sin Jones' video Devil's Apple does an excellent job of addressing her perspective while avoiding any sort of internet drama. It does not require any backstory or explanation. The video Devil's Apple stands alone. That being said, there are some fallacies within her video that must be addressed. The first issue that I would like to point out is the irony between the description of the video and one of the greatest tools Sin Jones uses within the video itself. In the video description it reads, "This video inspired by The Symbol Illiterate." The book which Miss Jones uses within her video is the Young's literal translation of the Bible. This book is exactly that, a literal translation of the Bible from both Hebrew and Greek texts intended to find the precise words used within the scriptures. This translation of the Bible bypasses many of the scriptures' symbolisms by its very own literal nature and is considered by many Christians to be the worst translation of the Bible ever written. One of the main arguments debunking the Young's literal translation is found within the famous biblical passage John 3:16, but I will return to this argument later. For now, I would like to turn our attention to Young's literal translation of the love apple in Genesis 30, which many believe, including scholars, refers to the mandrake plant. Historically, this translation conflicts with the origin of the term. In Hebrew, mandrake is literally translated as love plant, not love apple. So how is it possible that this misinterpretation could have happened? The answer lies in a poem written in 1544 by Italian herbalist Pietro Andrea Mattioli, who made the first reference to the tomatoes' presence in Europe when he wrote about the pomme d'oro, or apples of gold. It is likely that the first tomatoes in Europe were yellow ones, hence the golden description. Mattioli went on to classify them as similar to the mandrake plant. It should also be noted that the mandrake is of the order Solanaceae, similar to deadly nightshade. Mandrake was very common within the region in which Genesis 30 was allegedly set, and it is far from sweet. The Young's literal translation of the Bible was published in 1862, and it is very likely that this linguistic error crept into the translation. Apart from Genesis 30, there are also many mistranslations within Young's literal translation of the Bible, many of them due to the literal nature of the book itself. For example, John 3:16, King James Version reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life." The Young literal translation reads, "For God did so love the world, that his Son, the only begotten, he gave, that everyone who is believing in him may not perish, but may have life age-during." Many Christians and biblical scholars agree that the King James interpretation of John 3:16 is more accurate simply because the context of the scripture implies everlasting life. The context within Young's literal translation implies that there is an end to the quote, age, unquote. Therefore, within Young's literal translation, God has a shelf life and is not everlasting. In closing, Devil's Apple by Sin Jones is an interesting video. However, Miss Jones defeats herself by quoting from a literal translation of the Bible in order to prove a point to the symbol illiterate. It is very possible that the mandrake root, literally translated in Hebrew as love plant, was misinterpreted as love apple due to a linguistic error originating from a poem written in 1544 by Pietro Andrea Mattioli, likening tomatoes to mandrakes, thus fusing the two linguistically. The Young's literal translation of the Bible is frowned upon by many Christians and scholars alike because its translation detracts from the very symbolism it is trying to convey. Due to all of these fallacies combined, I maintain my position that apples, not mandrakes, not tomatoes, but actual apples, are not mentioned in the book of Genesis.